Okay, good morning. This is Michael Bowes. I'm welcoming you to the March meeting of the Calumet Nature Exchange. Today, Sarah Coulter will join us to talk about her group, the Calumet Collaborative, and how it can help teachers and students with their nature encounters virtually and in person. We are recording this session. It will be available on Ollie's website within a week. And let's begin with self-introductions. I'm Michael Bowes, Executive Director of the Association for the Wolf Lake Initiative. And Ollie is facilitating these meetings, which began in last December. And I'd like to introduce our guest speaker, Sarah Coulter.
Hi, good morning, Michael. I'm
Sarah.
Sarah Coulter. I'm the Executive Director of the Calumet Collaborative. And I don't know if you want me to go straight into presentations or we're going to go around the room. I'd love to know who's with us today.
Yeah, let's go around the room.
Great.
Okay, I'm Wayne Schimpf. Oh boy, where do I start? Just a professional naturalist, retired, professional high school educator, retired. My big reason for joining this network is I'm also the Conservation Committee Chairman for the Pathway to Adventure Council, which includes all the scouts in Cook County and Lake County, Indiana, that cover the greater Calumet watershed area. So looking for ways that we can involve scouts in that, but then realize that scouts are also school students and also they're members of faith-based institutions that are all tied into trying to create a more sustainable ecosystem.
Lisa, do you want to just introduce yourself?
Yes, good morning. Good morning. Sorry I'm late. Lisa Soa-Downs here with representing Cub Scout Pack 773. Also pretty involved here in the community of Hegewisch. Sound good? Good morning.
Morning.
I'm Lacey. I work with the Forest Preserves, primarily sitting in for my boss, Adam Kessel. He's the coordinator for the South Zone. And we're with the Conservation Experimental Programming part of the Forest Preserve. So we do a lot of environmental education as well as like recreational activities.
All right. Lacey, thank you. And is that everybody? I think so.
Someone's on the phone because she couldn't connect with Zoom. It's Joanne.
Oh, Podco.
Well, it's probably coming up Kevin Murphy, which is going to be a little bit eerie. I'm sorry about that. I'm still using his equipment.
All right.
So I'm sorry that I can't see it. I don't know what went wrong. I do Zoom a lot, so it's not that I'm all that new to it, but I'm sorry that I'm missing seeing everybody's faces. And especially Sarah. Sarah, guess what T-shirt and baseball cap I'm wearing?
She was hoping.
Calumet Heritage Area T-shirt.
Absolutely, yes.
No, I did not wear mine this morning. I should have thought ahead, and usually I do, but today I was looking for something to walk the dog real quick because this daylight savings business is kept me up until midnight last night.
Oh.
So I don't know. This has really thrown me off this year. And but anyway, thanks for representing the Calumet Heritage Area in your gear, Joanne. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
Joanne, you have to introduce yourself a little bit.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
All right. Well, the best way to do it, and I know that all right. Basically, this whole thing has been like a 40-year project, minimal, and my husband and I were very happy to be part of that along the way. But we weren't the only ones And it's marvelous to think that we're at the stage of fruition where the bigger plans are beginning to fall into place, and that there are still some people alive who can enjoy that. It's absolutely wonderful. So I keep promoting it wherever I can, and it's okay. Kevin's nudging me. He's saying, "Go on, okay, be quiet. That's it." Okay, okay, that's it.
What Joanne's not telling you all, if you don't know Joanne, and hopefully you'll meet her at some point, is she's an educator, an artist, and a former teacher. So I include educator, and she's consistently and constantly educating everyone she meets on the value and all the tips and tricks of the Calumet region. So grateful to have you here today and for your support, Joanne.
Thank you.
And she's even a former principal too.
Oh, gee, that was the worst part.
Okay. Well, we really are working on a short group this week. The person that usually conducts this meeting is Jane Healy, and she lost her mother unexpectedly this week. So she told me a couple of days ago that she would not be able to make it. But I guess I'll be doing it today, and we're recording this session. So for those who weren't able to make it today, we can just assure them that it will be on Ollie's website probably within the week of the recording. So Sarah, could you just kind of start us out and talk about Calumet Collaborative and ways that it can help teachers?
Sure. I'm just gonna, I prepared some slides and considering we have a small group and considering we're recording this is great because I'll just send all of these slides because I'm going to go through them really quickly today. Many of you have heard of the Calumet Collaborative. We're a bi-state nonprofit organization that's committed to sustainable development through collaborative or collective action. Let's see here. Get the slide to advance. So sustainable development, economy, community, culture, and environment. We added the culture to that three-legged stool of sustainability because we identified that culture is a real standout to just community health. Culture influences economic health as well as environmental health, so really needed its own leg of the stool. And as I mentioned, we do things collaboratively or through collective impact models. So these are our partners from Indiana and Illinois, and those that work in a bi-state nature, as well as those that represent each of these four different legs of our sustainability stool. So this is a little bit about what the Calumet Collaborative does. We convene workshops, we build capacity, we manage projects, we facilitate conversations, we do advocacy for the Calumet region, communicate and celebrate, which are the best parts. And these are our four different projects that we work on. Brownfield redevelopment, wayfinding, Calumet National Heritage Area, and bi-state conservation strategy. So really trying to dig into these bigger long-term initiatives and identify projects within these initiatives that we can forward going into the future. So the first teacher tool I'm going to talk to you about today is the Calumet Reinvestment Mapping Tool. And this was done by our Brownfield Working Group. And basically what it does is takes a lot of public data over 2 years with a number of different collaborators that unifies data between Illinois and Indiana related to brownfields or underutilized sites. So once we had that publicly available data from Illinois EPA, from IDEM, Indiana Department of Environmental Management, and then the federal EPA, we put that into a tool that had a number of different layers to it. So If you're not familiar with brownfields, as defined by the EPA, is a property where the expansion, redevelopment, or reuse may be complicated by the presence or potential presence of a hazardous substance, pollutant, or contaminant. So as I mentioned, we pulled all of these different sites and put them into a map. And then we have added different layers to this mapping tool. Our next stage is to look at managed natural areas, unmanaged natural areas, vacant or blighted residential and commercial properties. But right now we just have the main data from the US EPA. So this is located on our website, and this is just a screenshot so you can see how to find it. The mapping tool is under brownfield redevelopment, and then it's called the Calumet Reinvestment Mapping Tool. And you click on there, there's a short user agreement that's asked how you might use it. And kind of just the goals of the mapping tool, and there's a guide also on the website. So this is a screenshot of the first page of the guide, and goes over, what the study area is and how things are laid out and how you might use it. So for example, here's like the toolbar and legend, and different ways. If you're not used to using mapping tools, you can click on these boxes to turn on or off different layers. So layers meaning layers of information. So the layers we included, so this is just the brownfield sites mapped on the regional outline. So our region, as we consider, is the 3 counties of Northwest Indiana, South Cook County, and about 24 different Chicago, South, East Side, and far South neighborhoods. So all of these dots represent EPA brownfield sites, state brownfield sites, underground storage tanks, closed landfills, RCRA or hazardous waste sites. And then from here, you can click on different layers that will show you land use or zoning. So this was the difficulty between Indiana and Illinois, because every county, every city has a different way to classify how their land is used. And you can see in the southern portion of the Northwest Indiana portion of our region is a lot of green, which is the agricultural. And as you get further north, you can see the brown and the industrial. The environmental layer for all the enviros out there. This is just the USGS protected areas, wetlands, and then the FEMA 100 and 500 year floodplains. So you say, well, why are we collecting this data? Why is it on an environmental layer? Is so that we can prioritize or identify properties that should be remediated or restored to their highest and best use. So based on that land use map and based on this environmental map, we can see that some of these dots that are close to floodplains and or protected areas might be best put back into productive use as natural areas as compared to industrial areas. Like why put another potentially polluting factory next to a protected area? So there's that. Then there's also the point of putting underutilized sites back into productive use for commercial purposes or economic development purposes. So these are some of the incentives, opportunity zones, hub zones, new market tax credits, and TIF districts that can be aligned to identify the highest and best use for the property. So how do we put these contaminated properties, change the script on whether they're an asset or an obstacle for our region to thrive, and how do we put them back into reuse? And then this is probably one of the most important ones, and really highlights our organization's focus on environmental justice, and is the social vulnerability index of where are the highest concentrated vulnerable people or vulnerable residents and wildlife as well, but this is done by HUD. And how do we ensure that the residents of the Calumet region have a clean and healthy and livable environment to live in? Social vulnerability index includes things like socioeconomic status, proximity to transportation, primary language spoken, but there's 15 different qualifications that go into making this index. So shifting gears, teachers, I'm going to switch over to the Calumet National Heritage Area Initiative. And I'm happy to take questions on either of these, but I wanted to just pack this all into one presentation. Is that as Joanne mentioned, this initiative and this effort has been going on for 40 plus years, but 20 probably more organized and deliberate to develop this heritage area. And so basically the heritage area is bookended. It's not quite the same geography as the Calumet Collaboratives. It's slightly smaller. So it starts at Jackson Park and goes all the way into Northwest Indiana and the 3 counties of Northwest Indiana. And it goes a little bit further south into Will County. But a heritage area is a lived-in landscape. Our heritage area is kind of bookended by the Pullman National Monument to the west and the Indiana Dunes National Park to the east, and it really covers all that space in between those two National Park Service properties. So how do we tell the story of the people, the wildlife, the environment of the space between those two anchor pieces? And so, as I mentioned, they're lived-in landscapes. They're enacted by are designated by an act of Congress. We don't affect any property rights. It's really just trying to bring people together to conserve natural and cultural heritage, drive some economic development, and promote education and recreation of the area. So there's 55 total in the country. And the National Park Service provides oversight of the program, but they also provide a small amount of funding. So, which has to be matched. So the idea of why do we want to become a national heritage area when for the past 40 years, for the past 20 years, we've been operating as if we are a nationally significant heritage area, is because we'll get some extra money to do additional signage, additional re-granting to smaller organizations, and to boost up the programming to support the effort. So there's many reasons to support the heritage area, but these are just some of them. There's a ton, and you all know how great this region is, so I don't need to go into that. But then I just wanted to share some of the progress that we've made to this date. So part of the designation process is we have to be approved by the National Park Service, and by approved meaning that we have done a feasibility study, which I believe many of you probably have participated in. And that started in 2015 and was completed and approved by the National Park Service in 2018. We created a new vision statement. We have a website, the CalumetHeritageArea.org. We have a traveling exhibition, Calumet Voices National Stories. And we have a brand, right? And so that's what Joanne was saying as far as repping the Calumet Heritage Area. And this brand and identity was meant to incorporate all of the natural features of the dune grass and the dunes and the Lake Michigan and potentially smokestacks or the high rises of the city of Chicago. So really trying to incorporate all of the different features of the region. Additionally, and most recently, we just completed a draft of our management plan, and it's open for public comment until this coming Monday. And the management plan is really the roadmap of what is the work that we're going to accomplish, or we'd like to accomplish as a heritage area. And this is where educators come in. And then I should also mention that we continue to advocate for the congressional designation of the heritage area, and that's on an ongoing process. So the feasibility study developed 3 different themes: the Calumet's diverse landscape, the innovations of and change for industrial workers, and the crucible of ethnic and working class. And those 3 themes, as you can kind of see, it aligns with sustainable development as far as what the heritage area will focus on. So one of the first projects of the heritage area is a calendar. And so I know Michael has used this calendar in the past, and boy, did the pandemic really ruin our calendar entries as far as events. But basically this calendar is meant to help identify educational program, museum openings, volunteer work days for stewardship activities, any type of activity that will fit into those 3 themes of the heritage area are welcome to submit an event to the calendar. And I'm going to go through some quick slides of how you do that, but you can see there's some links to submit an event. You can go to our website and find that. But here it is on our website. You can click submit an event, and then you can also search for an event. It's very easy to submit an event. It's just a few keystrokes, and then it gets sent to me, who is the calendar manager, and then I approve it and it ends up on the calendar. To search for an event, you can use the search bar, put in a particular date, or you can identify what you want to look at based on the tags. And by the tags, I mean, let's see here if I can get my pointer working, these kind of tags. So if you wanted something based on nature, you could click on nature, and everyone that had tagged their event as nature related would come up for you, whether it was this week or 10 weeks from now. Anything nature related could come up. So it's a pretty handy tool. The challenge with all calendars, if anyone has ever managed a calendar, is to get people to submit their events. So that's an ongoing process that I do, rattling cages and saying, hey, put your event on the calendar. So my own fault, this event is not on the calendar. It should have been. I should have put it on there because I knew it was going to be happening. But so I'll totally take the blame on that one. But it's really, you know, coming out of the pandemic, as things start to open up, I know Sandridge Nature Center has a ton of events. I know the forest reserves have a ton of events. I know the dunes are starting to add more events to their calendar as well. So really trying to make this as kind of a one-stop resource for everyone to use. So as I mentioned, if you have an event or have questions about it, you can contact me. It's very easy to submit an event. There's some guidelines there. And then if you have your own website and you want to add this calendar, there is a block of coding that you can add to your website, and this calendar, exactly how it looked as I showed it to you on the previous slides, exactly how it looks on the Heritage Area website, will look the same on your website. You just plug in this code and it will be this box. You can decide how big or little or whatever you want it. But then anytime anyone adds an event, it in real time adds to your website's calendar. You don't have to sync it. You don't have to do anything. Just every time an event is added, it's added real time. And we're trying to add, have people add a page maybe for Calumet Heritage Area events, and then anyone that goes to your website rather than our website can get clued into what's happening in the region.
Wow. Wow.
The next part of our accomplishment for the heritage area is the branding. We had over 300 people participate in about, I think, 12 to 18 different meetings in 2019. Went through a lot of different kind of looks for the brand. And as I mentioned, the brand that we came up with will allow us to adapt when we become a national heritage area, so we can fit national just right above that heritage area, and that we really want to incorporate all of the different features of the region that people felt hit close to home. So the dunes, the lake, the industry, the connection to Chicago. And we came up with this Tim Allen type of narrative, which I'll let you read, but it's really meant to try to encapsulate the feeling of being in the region. And if I was, or maybe the guy from State Farm who has the majestic voice, if you heard them read this narrative, it would be quite impressive. But just trying to help people that are not from here or people that are from here to really get an idea of what the heritage area is hoping to accomplish and what we're hoping to instill, this pride of place, this sense of place in everyone that lives here and everyone that visits here. And luckily for us, we had the brilliant Matthew Kaplan submit and take a number of different photos for us. And so there's in the brand toolkit, and here are some of his photos. The brand toolkit is available for you to download from the heritage area as well. So you can get all of these images, logos, many different things from this toolkit. And if you're ever doing any type of programming or educational project, you're welcome to use the brand on any of those items. Last, I think this is the last one, but the last one is the management plan. And I think this is kind of the biggest, this is the meatiest project we've worked on. It's really taken us over 2 years. And it's almost like a business plan. So we're not quite a national heritage area yet. We're just the Calumet heritage area, but really Congress is not predictable. I'll just say it that way. And to wait for this money, or to wait to really do great things together until Congress decides we can and we can get this extra money, we didn't want to wait for that. So we wanted to put together this plan. It's open for public comment. You can find it on the Heritage Area website. And this is, I think, the key part for educators. So the management plan itself is like 200 pages long. There's a ton of really fantastic information, but there's 2 sections that I think educators would really find important. So there's the interpretation section and then the goals section. And this kind of brown table that I have on this slide is just, it's from an appendix, from Appendix B, which really kind of is our score sheet or our dashboard of the things that we can do as far as projects in a collaborative way to be able to instill that pride of place and move forward the objectives and mission of the heritage area. So this section is the Teach the Region. And you can see that it's organized in a now, next, and later, and what kind of role and what kind of working groups might be part of this. So I mention this because as also part of the management plan, we have to identify a governance structure and how we're going to actually implement this. So how are we going to coordinate and organize everyone? And so there's an interpretation and education working group or committee that is going to be forming probably as soon as we get the public comments back for the management plan. And we'd love all educators or any and all educators to be part of that group so that we can start taking on some of these tasks and working on their implementation. Now, this list is not a complete list of things that we want to do. This is just a basic outline, what we've heard during our focus group meetings and a number of different planning meetings we've had over the past 2 years. So really am interested to learn from all of the educators on what might be helpful, how we might teach the younger generations about the history and help inspire them to create the future that we want to see. Joanne, I didn't know you were going to be on this meeting today, but I was going to pitch Joanne's idea in that there are a number of elders and a lot of youth recently that are really interested in environmental justice and really why and how all of this activism started. And Joanne's idea is to have young people interview and or maybe be mentored by some of these environmental justice and environmental leaders that have paved the way to where we are today. So Michael, you'd totally be one of those that I had in mind as far as how do we connect youth to not only understand what can be ahead of them or prior to them, but how do we keep them motivated and inspired so they don't feel so alone and so left out or feel like they're not making a big enough difference. And I think the perseverance of the environmental advocacy in the Calumet region is a testament to the youth that we have today. So many ways to get involved outside of the management planning part, being that brand ambassador, putting our Calumet Heritage Area brand on things, will help people recognize that we're this one unified area, that we have stories to share and swap. We have social media and website that you can participate in, the Heritage Area Calendar, and then of course every October, looks I've got some formatting things. Every October we have a Calumet Heritage Conference, and so we're working on the initial planning of that. And we haven't decided a theme, but I heard some themes around water this year. So I think, and the Heritage Area Conference was online last year, and all of the materials from that conference is on the Calumet Heritage Area website. In addition to that, I should mention that the Calumet Heritage, or the Calumet Voices National Stories exhibit that started in Pullman, went to Gary Public Library right before the pandemic hit, was supposed to travel on to Valparaiso. We've pivoted and put that whole entire exhibit online, and there's a lot of different teaching tools to that as well, and a couple of different writing prompts as far as what you love about the region, etc. So I wanted to highlight those. So there's just a ton on the Calumet Heritage Area website for educators to discover, and that's all I have to share. It's probably more than you wanted, but I wanted to fit everything in.
Wow, impressive.
Yeah,
Yeah, Sarah, right on. You know, I created 35 years ago a global network of high school students called Caretakers of the Environment International that are trying to do the same thing for the globe through local high school activities in over 103 countries around the world to develop their own Calumet heritage level of involvement. And I'd really like to talk to you more about how to connect with, and I'd love to offer you an opportunity to present what you said here, but focusing on the role of curious teens to become the leaders in their parts of the world in doing the same thing. So, you know, spot on. And the other thing I'd like to offer is our Pathway to Adventure Council to become part of your, you know, network, you know, somehow, because I chair its conservation committee, and we're looking to build more sustainable partners. So, and then the other thing that comes to my mind, have you reached out to these two state environmental education associations, both in Illinois and Indiana, to become part of your education delivery community?
The answer is that we have a number of different partners, and
Okay.
I am one of several. So the
Okay.
Field Museum and Calumet Heritage Partnership are our closest team that is working to advance this. So I am sure that the Field Museum folks have been in touch with the State Environmental Education Association, but I'm not entirely positive. But
Okay.
I've made a note to make
Because
sure that
I didn't see them on the partnership brand site. And so that's where I think that if they are loosely, because I think that they should be, you know, represented there. And then another good partner is the Girl Scouts of Chicago and Land and Indiana also have a great environmental initiative. And I think that they should be listed on your, you know, partnership, you know, thing, because I'd like to get the Pathway to Adventure Council, because see, then the other thing when you're targeting, you know, schools, kids sometimes are also scouts that have activity challenges and volunteerism, but then also I didn't see the role of faith in place, which unites the faith-based communities that also have a theology of ecology and responsibility, and they've got a good teen and citizen education program. So that's the mix that I'm trying to bring together through the Scouts, where the Scouts are the experiential arm for the schools and also partnering with the faith base. So you and I need to talk.
Yeah, I can tell. I've got like a whole small sheet of paper, but I already like filled. So Wayne, thank you.
Yeah, one other thing, are you, is the Platt House at 10408 South Drew part of your Calumet Heritage site? Because that has a very historical tie-in with the Underground Railroad and so on. So is that involved? Are you involved with that at all?
So I'm not familiar with that particular site. I am, but I don't believe it's part of the network. I do know that there's the most recent entry into the Network to Freedom, which is the National Park Service certification, was done by the Jan and Anjay Ton Farm, which is right on the little Calumet River in the Riverdale neighborhood. So that has been certified and is part of the network now. And so we were part of supporting that celebration when it happened, and have been part of a charrette for how do we activate that site and program that site through the Forest Preserve District of Cook County and their adjacent property at Bobby and Woods. So
well, the Platt House is one that for some reason has been overlooked, because that goes back to the geographer Rutherford Platt, the University of Chicago days and that. And their landscape around the house was done by Jens Jensen. And then they own a tract of land that goes out and down the core of the block. And in there is the largest oak tree community. One time there was an 800-year-old oak, but that's come to old age. And there's several 400-year-old oak trees and so on. And it's been grossly overlooked. I've tried to, when the people were doing the initiative that got the Ton Farm eventually connected with the Underground Railroad, but the Platt House has actual documentation by a former student that lived there, whose ancestor was secluded in the top of the Platt House and so on, and has got documentation that they had a relative that actually lived there. And
Wayne, where is this?
This is at 10408 South Drew.
Okay, is that Riverdale?
No, that's in it's in Chicago. No, it's what's the big name? I can't
Beverly?
think.
Is it Beverly?
Yeah, Beverly. Yeah, it's in the Beverly area.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
Yeah, and it's an awesome resource. And there's a former student who lives in Hong Kong that owns the house, and he's got a caretaker the last time I know, living there. But inside the house, in each room, there's documentation of what happened here and so on like that. And they've got the press clippings from the Tribune that actually document the Underground Railroad in the top of the place there. I used to, when I was director of environmental education for the Open Lands Project, I actually led guided tours of the house and of the property in that.
Wow.
And
That's awesome.
I tried to work with there's one hat that I wore. I was appointed in 1969 by the regional office of the National Park Service to become the first ranger naturalist at the Indiana Dunes National Lakeshore, where I welcomed J.R. Whitehouse, the first superintendent, to the park. and conducted the first educational activities down there. And that,
Wow.
so yeah,
Wayne,
I've got a
we
little,
need to get you interviewed by young people, and we need to get all of these stories recorded or ready to be put into interpretive signage and all of these
yeah,
other
yeah.
things. So I'm sure I could talk to you for hours. I have a ton of
Well,
questions.
let's plan
but-
on getting together, because I can talk about the early days at the dunes and that, where at the West Beach area, when I led the first educational activities down there, there were only 3 legal parking spots at the West Beach area.
Wow.
And the rest is growing since then and that. So, and then the other thing is my boss, Stan Locke, who was the regional ranger and that I answered to, he still is alive and exists today. I mean, he's still living today. And he has a lot of stories about Beverly Shores, and how he had a home on the lake side of Beverly Shores Drive, and that, where we used to have our staff meetings there.
Wow.
and so on. So yeah, but I think the key to your effort here is mobilizing teens, because the one thing you got to remember about teen characteristics, they don't know what they can't do. And so you've got the technology there, they've got the curiosity, and they want to make a name for themselves, and they want to create an identity, and they want to you've got the statistics in that, turn them loose in that.
Yeah.
What's wonderful is that this is being recorded.
Yeah. So you know, we've got to jumpstart this. And then also at the same time, I don't know whether you know it, but the Chicagoland Gardening Association is having a all-day conference, and there's a lot of people that could help grow this effort forward, that are into, you know, gardening and the environment and so on like that. So I think that you know, school site engagement in that, even though the gardening people today want to grow vegetables, but I think we got to also have an alternative track where they're growing native species, because it's a lot easier to grow native gardens, because it only takes input in the spring and the fall, no maintenance and watering and weeding over the summer and so on. So and it's got a lot of
pollinator gardens has been a big feature of national heritage areas throughout the country. And so that's something I know the Field Museum has done a lot of work and won some awards with, but that is definitely something that we're trying to forward.
Pollinator gardens, but I think that what would excite the kids more and have it is where they get into propagating regional native and endangered species, and then begin to take those out into the community, the way that the Morton Arboretum did a number of years ago with the Kankakee River mallow, and they got a lot of people to grow that in their backyards and so on like that, so that in case the one island that began to erode in the Kankakee River, you know, lost it, but they were able to control the water levels, and it didn't lose, but there was a massive effort to do that. So I think that not only pollinator gardens, but the focus on how to propagate and to multiply and divide, like the Bible says, you know, give them the fish and spread it and so on. So,
right.
and I think
part
that
of seed keeping, you know, how do we continue to preserve the seeds and, like you said, propagate them through.
Well, see, that I think is a different mindset than just butterfly gardens, you know, or pollinator gardens. See, you're connecting them with the native species and so on. They can go back to who was that Lakeview teacher that wrote about the different ecosystems in the region and the parks and so on. But anyhow, I got to stop talking. I'm monopolizing it, but Sarah, you're spot on and everything like that. So one hat I used to wear back in the 70s, I was I worked for NIPSI and the Regional Wastewater Planning Project and everything. So I was the public participation facilitator for that, process, and helped start Chicago Wilderness some 20 odd years ago. So,
Wow,
yeah.
incredible.
So Michael, you got a good group here together this morning. So yeah,
Well,
I just wish. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. I got to stop talking. So,
well,
Sarah, we got to. Yeah.
I do want to hear a little bit more from Joanne about her
Yes.
environmental justice.
Oh, okay. Everybody knows this story, I'm sure. But I was getting my tax stuff done at the Balanoff office recently. And I'm sitting in the little office there. I'm looking at a second generation Balanoff who doesn't know me from Adam or Eve. But I'm realizing, wow, I remember them. I was not as active as Kevin was with the early days. Michael, I know that you were. And all of a sudden, it washed across me. And it was like the line from Hamilton. I was in the room where it happened. But is there any signage? Is there any signage on the Balanoff building? No. So I'm hoping that maybe we can get some of our young people who've been very much involved in the environmental justice movement to take a look at this history. Evelyn was still in the office, and she's telling me about people who chained themselves to trucks that were delivering toxic material to the area. Whoa, where do we have that written down? I'm sure that if we go back to the Daily Calumet, we'll have done plenty of articles. But the point is that this area is so rich in that with people who dedicated their lives to making this place better. So I'm hoping that we will be able to link up some of the younger people to the history of it, maybe do the history, get maps out or whatever else to celebrate. That's it.
Yeah, I occasionally run into folks that were there in those days, and yeah, that's a lot of memories for me, and
Yes.
I'm sure others. So I was just interested in what you were saying. Lacey, do you have any questions?
No, I do not.
Okay. So how you work with Adam?
Yeah, he's the coordinator for our team. And I'm an aide that works under him.
Okay. Very good. And Lisa, I haven't heard from you. Do you have any questions?
Nope, I'm a listener today. So I'm listening, taking notes, seeing how some of this information can fit in for scouts for our Cub Scout pack.
Okay.
A lot of so I'm interested in the Calumet Voices, looking at that online. Would love, to have, I'm always looking for people who maybe want to come out and do a hike with our scouts to give them some historical information on some of the spots we're hiking. So, if anyone is up for that and wants to add their email in a chat, that's wonderful. So, right, just I'm an observer today.
Okay. Have your scouts been to Eggers Grove?
Oh my gosh, our scouts have been pretty well everywhere.
Okay.
Yes,
thinking,
to Eggers Grove. Yeah.
I was thinking Marianne Kozlowski has a scout troop from Hinsdale at Eggers Woods this morning.
Oh.
Wow.
So she couldn't make the meeting.
Yeah, our scouts haven't, we're still a little COVID shy to be together yet. So we are hoping this coming Saturday, we have a big hike at the Indiana Dunes. And so that's kind of our first adventure of trying to get back together and then go on from there. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, it's
So So we had a COVID pivot for our Calumet Outdoors series. So every third Saturday, there's typically a guided hike or some type of, maybe it's not a walk more than a hike, but there are recordings on the website too. The Heritage Area website, if you go to Calumet Outdoors, you can see previous hikes. And so there's different, so the idea is that they give you the perspective and then you can do it on your own. So it's not, so that's another page on our website for you to check out, Lisa.
All right, great. I'll look for that. I am always looking for new faces. It's just good for scouts to hear other people and know there's other people than just listening to me all the time, you know. Thanks.
Okay, one thing that Lisa has brought to the the Conservation Committee, and we're looking at it very seriously here in Chicago and also now nationally. And that is to how to use what Lisa has pioneered with working with the Cubs in creating an environmental ethic awareness through age-appropriate activities and so on, and also age-appropriate education in order to develop what Aldo Leopold said was an environmental ethic. And so we're a counterpart of hers up on the north side here of Chicago, but not in the Calumet region, is just working with through Lisa's contact with the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District in their grow more monarch butterflies through increasing milkweed population in that. So we're looking at trying to create the bottom of the pyramid in that, and then also to take the Cub Scouts, because they're school students that take into the schools and their Sunday school programs and their faith-based institutions. So again, with the teens becoming potential field trip or outing activity leaders and so on like that, and them being also in schools and faith-based and so on, that we're trying to increase this upward mobility, you know, pyramid. And I think, Sarah, with your fantastic set of overlays and so on, that any technological high school student could actually get actively involved and so on like that. And we, several years ago, through our caretakers program, started a green mapping program that several high schools in different parts of the world did pioneer with and so on. So we've got an opportunity to, and then again, Lacey with working with Adam, that we're also trying to work with Adam and get some things going for the Cub Scouts, and that Adam and your team can help deliver too. So, you know, so Michael, thank you for bringing this all together. So, yeah.
Well, I wanted to kind of continue with the agenda that Jane set up, and but I don't know if, but she was interested in internships and jobs for the summer, and training programs and classes over the summer. If we don't have the right people here today to discuss further about that, we could talk about it at next month, at our next month meeting.
Should these things be posted on the Heritage site? And if you're talking about internships and things like that?
Yeah, we haven't gotten to that point as far as like, how do we, so internships and apprenticeships and all of that are kind of tricky. And so, or not tricky, but how do we compile them all in one spot? How do we make sure that they get out to the right people? And that goes back to one of the initiatives or one of the projects in the management plan, which is creating this like higher ed consortium, or this, how do we create these opportunities for not only college age students, but also younger students. So I don't have any knowledge of any particular internships or any type of intern programs right now. But I would imagine, and I think it's a little bit also difficult. I've had an intern that I've worked completely remotely with for the past year, right? So what do internships and other programs look like as we have higher vaccination rates and we are more comfortable being out and together? The same thing goes with any of the stewardship activities and cleanup days, et cetera. So I think I don't have any of that information yet, but I think maybe that at the next meeting we could try to round them up.
Okay, one reason I asked is because the Alderwoman's newsletter online had an internship with the MCFIT Challenge program, and I thought, wow, haven't heard about that one for a long time. But I was wondering, how many kids could actually sign up for that? How many would? I don't know. But it's an outstanding program, and I know that there are probably other kinds of things like that for kids that would be awesome. And this is the area where it's happening.
I do know when I see those internships. I also volunteer with the Hegwish Times. And so a lot of those things, like for the aldermen, come across, I follow. So when I do find them, I've been sending them to Jane as well. So, and posting them, there's another contact person I have for George Washington. So I know that like that one that you're talking about, I did send on to Jane, and I think I sent her a couple other ones just recently. So when I see them, I send them on. So.
Okay, very good, very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lacey, can you talk anything about the Friends of the Forest Preserves summer hiring of the through the Student Conservation Association, where the district hires 30 high school students for the summer at all? Is that program underway for this summer?
The Friends of the Forest Preserve is actually a totally different organization than.
Oh, I realize that, but I just didn't know whether, because I thought they normally they were always looking for 30 students to employ and so on. Like.
Are you thinking of the YOA program?
Yes, yeah.
I don't think the Forest Preserves is doing the YOA program this summer. I think we're with funding and et cetera, due to COVID, we're going to just bypass that this year and wait till next year. So I don't think we're going to be hiring any YOAs. I'm not sure about seasonal employees, but specifically the YOA program, I believe we are not doing that this summer.
Oh, okay. Well, then there is the national organization called the Student Conservation Association, which hires and sends high school students, gives them employment opportunities in the various national parks and national forests around the country. So that's always open. And I don't know whether the Chicago Park District has a program, similar to in that. So, that's all I can add to it.
Well, I think the pandemic has just canceled out everything. But I'm looking at my calendar, and Earth Day is coming up, April 22nd, and I think maybe the best I could do is put a flower in my window or something.
Well, there's a lot of activities that are going on. A lot of them are self-guided family experiences and that I think that you can Google, Earth Day activities Chicago and see what's out there and everything. So.
Okay, so it's still alive and well. Okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah, Forest Preserves is still doing Earth Day activities throughout the entire county with all the different zones and nature centers. I don't know specifically, but I believe there is Earth Day activities, whether it's self-led, family-led, or if it's going to be guided by one of our employees.
Uh-huh. Oh, wonderful. Okay, good. Thank you.
And I think that Friends of the Parks in the city of Chicago is also doing similar types of activities outside. And I think that North Park Village Nature Center and others throughout the Chicago Park District have also facilities. You know, you can check Chicago Audubon. I think they're doing stuff in that. So, yeah.
Oh, it's going to be much busier than I thought. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thinking back to 50 plus years ago when I helped put on the first Earth Day activities here in Chicago, it's come a long way.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I was thinking, were there any more questions for Sarah? If not, I'd kind of like to bring a close to this meeting. I do want to mention that at next month's agenda will include Colleen McVeigh of the Field Museum, and she will give a talk on nature is healing, social, emotional development, and nature. And so we have that to look forward to. And I think maybe if there's someone that has an idea of things that should be discussed at the next meeting, let me know now, or you can email me later. And I'll have to talk to Jane maybe in a week or so. But yeah, I think she's going through a lot right now. So
Yes. Our condolences.
go ahead, Joanne.
Oh, our condolences.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Okay, well,
Thank you for the opportunity to share. I look forward to connecting with all of you. My email is very simple. It's just sarah@calumetcollaborative.org. So, and it's all over the website. So if you.
And it was very nice that of coming and spending a whole hour with us on a Saturday morning. When I saw your dog, by the way,
Yes.
nice looking dog. You've been talking about it, and now I've seen
Yeah.
it. So
That's
that was
Dolomite. He's like, what's with the Zoom on a Saturday?
Right.
So.
And thanks, Lisa, Lacey, Joanne, and Wayne, and all. And we'll see you next. I think it's the third Saturday in April is our next date. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay. Sarah?
Bye.
Hey, Sarah,
Yes,
did you get an appointment for COVID?
I didn't.
Oh,
I
God.
didn't.
Amalia called me and they didn't get her. I didn't follow up with her fast enough because she said there was a place at Al Harvey today. And I said that you were looking for a place. So I didn't check my email last night. I checked it this morning. And she said that, like yesterday, that it would be available today, but I didn't get the time on that. But Amalia might be someone to talk to. I know it's a distance for you in terms of travel, but she might know about openings.
I'll have to reach out to her and see. There's just so many different sites to check, and they all run so slow, and trying to click on a button to reserve an appointment, and then that's taken. It's frustrating, but I know everyone's anxious to have that sense of protection that a vaccination,
Right.
provide. So
Good luck with that.
especially if you have like autoimmune diseases or anything like I do. So at any rate, thanks for asking, and I'm gonna just keep at it, and eventually when my turn is up, I'll get my vaccine. So
Okay.
All right.
I'm glad so many people have already been vaccinated so far. So that's a sigh of relief too. That
Yes, death rate is going down.
every
Like,
day.
yeah, it's good. It's good. It's just like a couple of days in most places or whatever, rather than much bigger than that. So
Right.
thank you. This has been lovely. I'm still wearing my hat.
Okay.
All right, awesome.
Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Here, bye-bye.
Sarah, look for an email from me shortly.